be a starter. I want an opportunity. I want to get my chance. Can I go? No. They picked up his $10 million option, and they're going to roll with Kirk Cousins as their backup just in case Michael Penix Jr. either struggles or deals with an injury, which he has done in the past. He's dealt with injuries in his college career, multiple injuries. So the Falcons are like, no, we already paid you what we paid you. We understand what it, but we want to make sure we're making the right decision for us. And so we're going to keep you here. Unless somebody steps up and offers them a deal they can't refuse. And the only way somebody would step up and offer them a deal they can't refuse is if they were absolutely desperate at the position. They needed somebody. And so then you start to look around the NFL and you go, well, what about the Saints? Well, they're not going to trade him in the division. And the Saints are most likely okay with having a terrible year because it'll give them a better opportunity to find their franchise quarterback. You start to look around at other situations in the NFL and you go, God, there really isn't a whole lot. He's got to wait or wonder, is somebody going to get injured and then I'll get my opportunity? You've seen it happen in training camps before. You saw Teddy Bridgewater years ago go down with an injury. You saw Sam Bradford get traded there. Like, we've seen it before a couple of times to where in training camp, in the offseason.
Number one on your car radio preset and the new and improved iHeartRadio app. WINCA in Miami. WMIB FM HD2 Fort Lauderdale. Free never sounded so good.
Pitch. Stowers cracks that one out to center and deep. Siri is back. He looks up and it's gone. The Marlins waste no. Pitch. Stowers cracks that one out to center and deep. Siri is back. He looks up and it's gone. The Marlins waste no time. Kyle Stowers with a two-run shot, and they take a 2-0 lead in the first.
Miami Marlins baseball is on deck.
2-1. That kicks away from Rodriguez. Hill breaks for the plate. There will be no throw. And on a wild pitch, the Marlins walk it off again. 1-2. Conine lifts out to left field. Tommy Pham working back to the warning track. So is Sawinski. They look up, and it's gone. Griffin Conine to left center. And we're tied at 2 in the 7th.
Marlins on deck. Brought to you by ADT, the official smart security partner of the Miami Marlins, and Norwegian Cruise Line. Experience more at sea. Let's head out to the ballpark. Here's your host, Steven Strong.
I'll say good job. Nice. Not a nice job, Ahmed. But we're here. Welcome. We're live from Steinbrenner Field, Tampa, Florida, on another stifling hot Saturday afternoon. It's 90 degrees. I love this stat, too, the real feel. I'm going to say about 93 degrees here at Steinbrenner Field. You're listening to Miami Marlins baseball on the radio. It's game 62 of 162. And I've said this a couple of times, but I cannot believe we played 62 games, 100 left. And it was a frustrating one yesterday that led to 2 ejections. Clayton McCullough and Xavier Edwards hit the showers early for the first time in their careers as the Marlins have dropped 5 in a row. They'll look to avoid tying a season-high 6 today. Special news for the Rays. Evan Longoria will sign a one-day contract today and will officially retire with the team. The club will hold a special ceremony before the game, so we will start a couple of minutes late, which is good because there's more airtime for me. Our original start time was at 4:10 as we bring you game 2 of a 3-game set between the 34-29 Tampa Bay Rays and your 23-38 Miami Marlins. It'll be Ryan Weathers who will take the hill. He'll make his 5th start of the season. Weathers will face the Rays for the first of hopefully many times in his career with Miami. He'll go opposite someone that the Marlins just saw in Taj Bradley. He pitched in Miami back on May 16th, and he's also coming off 7 innings of 1-run ball last week in Houston. First pitch, again, slated for 4:10, but we will start a little bit later right here on the Marlins Radio Network. Hi, everyone. Thanks for making Marlins on Deck a part of your Saturday afternoon with Jack McMullen and Scott Kornberg. I am Steven Strom. We thank you for your participation. We got an awesome show for you ahead. We'll first hear from Ryan Weathers and Jack McMullen yesterday. Neil Solantz, one of the radio broadcasters for the Rays Radio Network, will join the program as well. Of course, we'll get you at the count with Weathers and Bradley. We also have a plethora of topics to talk about with Jack and Scott for segment 4. Update on Kyle Stowers and also what the weekend will look like headed into Monday as well as far as the pitching is concerned. We'll get to our Expo question of today at Marlins Radio and Steve's guarantee to victory. So Ryan Weathers will start here for the 5th time this season. He comes into today with a 2.49 ERA. Last 2 starts for Ryan, the big talking point after his starts have been the walks. The one walk burned him in San Diego. The other walk burned him in his last start last week against the Giants. Jack McMullen caught up with Ryan yesterday just to talk about some of the talking points going into this one against the Rays.
Thank you, Steven. Ryan Weathers, you told us after your last start it felt like you missed on one pitch, and that was the one that burned you against Matos. What are you looking to correct from this one? What did you like? Where did you leave some meat on the bone last time out?
Just continuing what I'm doing. First pitch strikes went up last game. I was 80% on winning 1-1, so just keep getting count leverage and try to, go for the kill.
How important is winning that race to 2 strikes for you right now? Because obviously you have a bunch of pitches that you can turn to that can get swing and miss, but getting to a 1-2 count, getting to an 0-2 count.
Yeah, I think it's just about, getting to the heart of the plate. I think certain situations get kind of on the edges, but, just hit the fat part of the plate, let my stuff do the work.
First time seeing the Rays this year. What jumps out about that lineup?
Very aggressive lineup, so, getting ahead is going to be key. Hopefully we can get some quick outs. Really good bat-to-ball skills, so probably going to be a little less whiff. So, got to get them in swing mode.
Is there anything different about pitching in a ballpark like this? Obviously it's different for everybody covering this, but on the mound itself, is there anything unique about this?
I think just stay hydrated. It's going to be hot. It's the same ball game. You're just going to be sweating a little bit more. We sweat a lot in the Lone Dome too, so it's not going to be much different. Just stay hydrated and have an extra jersey ready.
You got to be one of the league leaders in sweat through the jersey, man. It's like first or second inning, you're already drenched. But in terms of hydration, what are you going with? Electrolytes, or is it just a ton of water?
It's a lot of salt, a lot of water, just really whatever I can get my hands on just to stay hydrated.
Okay, building on that, Ryan, I know you've done obviously a lot different when it comes to your health and eating over the off season, but not just hydration. Is there anything else that you do? Is it eating a little bit, eating a snack or something? Is there a different approach in a ballpark like this?
Get a little sugar, I guess, get some carbs. It's going to be a hot one tomorrow. This whole series is going to be hot, so just everybody in here needs to be hydrated and ready to roll.
I know that Jack touched upon this, but you mentioned being on the tack was something that you need to focus on. How do you focus on that in between starts? How do you work on something like that?
I think the bullpens are really where, the mound's your job, that's your office. So when you go to the bullpen, just whatever you need to really focus on for the next start. So for me, just continuing the attack with the fastball, just more consistent breaking ball shape. So just continuing to work on that. And, I feel like once you get muscle memory in the bullpen, kind of whenever a batter steps in the box, nothing really changes. The only thing that changes, there's a hitter in the box. So just whatever you can get mentally focused in on the bullpen, just to carry over into the start.
All right, that was Ryan Weathers, again, ahead of his start to this afternoon against the Rays. I thought it's important to note this, too. This is game 63 for the Rays. The Rays have only faced a lefty 18 times, so 45 of the 63 have come against right-handers. We did talk to Neil Solantz, one of the radio broadcasters for the Rays, and he talked about there was a little bit of struggle early on in the year against southpaws. Of course, Ryan Weathers, just obviously him as a performer, 2.49 ERA is a tough opponent in itself, but some struggles as of late for the Tampa Bay Rays against southpaws. We'll see if that plays a factor. We will break here. We will get Neil on to talk about Ryan Weathers. We will also hit on Evan Longoria, who again is going to sign a one-day contract with the Rays this afternoon, and he will effectively end his career. We knew obviously it was over in his last stop with the Arizona Diamondbacks, but Probably. I think we talked about this, the best player ever in this organization. So a big day, I know, for Rays fans. We'll get everything we need to know about that. And we got plenty more ahead on Marlins on Deck. It continues on the Marlins Radio Network.
Here's the 3-0. High fly ball, left center field, pretty deep. Mangum, the center fielder, back near the wall, leaping, and it's out of here. Augustine Ramirez leads off the fourth of the home run, just over the wall in left center field, and the Marlins are on the board. It's 3-1 Tampa Bay.
Can play shortstop a lot. That pitch to Otto is crushed out to left field and deep. Mangum back, he's looking up, and it's gone. It's a one-run game. Otto Lopez again, pull side pop. He's showing it off this year, his 5th home run on the season, and it's 4-3 in the top of the 8th inning. 1-2. Sanchez lines one into right. That's in for a base hit. Fortes can trot home. Sanoja will go first to third. Jesus Sanchez not only makes it a 9-game hitting streak and a 15-game on-base streak, but he gives the Marlins the lead with the RBI single against Dolander. 1-0 Fish in the third.
Well, you got a curveball. You sped up his bat after fastballs at the top.
1-0 from Dolander. That one a line shot up the gut and throw for a base hit. It came in at 98. It left at 106. And it plates Jesus Sanchez from third base. 2-0 Marlins in the bottom of the third on the Stowers. 3-2. That one lifted down the left field line. Stowers on his horse. Tailing into foul ground. Stowers slides. Kyle made the catch. Kyle Stowers went sliding into foul territory up against that padded wall down the left field line. And Kyle Stowers takes an extra opportunity away from Mickey Moniak.
Enjoy world-class golf and spas. We are the original, the one, the only, the Palm Beaches. Plan your trip at thepalmbeaches.com.
Neil Solon stars us now here on Marlins on Deck. Great to have you, Neil, one of the radio voices on the Rays Radio Network as we get you ready for Game 2 of a 3-game set. Evan Longoria will, I guess, sign a 1-day contract with the Rays. Not going to retire his number today, but that's going to happen next year at the Trop. I want to first start with Evan. What is his name in the history books in this franchise?
I think it's synonymous with Rays baseball. He's the best player the Rays have had. He probably will remain that way for quite a bit. He's had some of the most iconic moments in the franchise's history, and beyond that, he was part of the fabric of this community. I mean, he and his wife Jamie, a couple of his kids were born here. He really made this place a home, and I'm happy that he's here today and officially retiring as a Ray.
Yeah, he has so many iconic moments. I think everyone thinks about the Yankee home run. I was looking up when B.J. Upton wasn't hustling. He came in the dugout, and that is a leader, right? That personifies a leader. What was one of your favorite moments that you remember when you covered Evan?
I think probably one of the things that sticks out with me is just the fact that he had such a great relationship with Don Zimmer and the rapport that they established, and an appreciation for the history of the game and his focus, his intensity, his ability to rise to the occasion. Obviously, Game 162 sticks out, but he made so many great plays in big moments, whether it was walk-off home runs, whether it was his first playoff against the Chicago White Sox in 2008 and quickly socked a couple of home runs. He seemed to enjoy it when the biggest moments he seemed to be ready for.
As we go to the present day here, the Game 2 of a 3-game set, the Marlins took 2 out of 3 against the Rays a couple of weeks ago. You guys are 12-4 since that. What has changed, or what has worked or clicked?
I thought the club was actually playing better before the series. They won the series against Milwaukee and Toronto right before they faced the Marlins, and they hit a little blip for whatever reason that was. I think Miami plays a really hard brand of baseball. They run the 90 feet. They take the extra base. They put the ball in play. They can be really pesky and difficult to face. And I just think the Rays have played a really good brand of baseball, starting with pitching and defense. I mean, that's first and foremost. They've given up, 4 runs or fewer in all of these 16 games. That's hard to do, especially in a ballpark that I think is fairly good for hitters. So they've done that, and I think they've manufactured runs well. Yesterday, scoring 2 runs with outs, I think, is a real example of how balanced they've been.
Yeah, you mentioned this ballpark has played the hitters 8th, I think, in the league in home runs. Why do you think that? What is the explanation to you about this ballpark?
Well, early on, it didn't really play much to hitters. The wind was swirling a lot. Now, as the weather warms up, especially for day games, I think the ball carries better to right field, and we've seen it start to carry to left a little bit too. It's a little more true of a ballpark. Similar dimensions to Yankee Stadium. It's going to be deeper to left than it is to right, but I think all around, especially in the daytime, I think I see the ball a lot better here. And the heat plays a factor too. I think that can drain a pitcher, and when you're drained, maybe you make a mistake or two, and good hitters in this league will capitalize.
Last one for you, Neil. Obviously, Peter Bendix has been with the Rays for such a long time now, and a couple seasons with the Marlins. After watching this team, are you starting to see some footprints of Peter Bendix's, time here? What are you seeing?
Well, I think you're seeing a young group of players, and the Rays were built on young players having to produce. And I think the fact that he's made some good trades already, getting Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers is the kind of moves that I think the Marlins are probably going to have to make going forward to build a really good group. And I think we're starting to see that. It takes time. I think hopefully Marlins fans are patient. I think Pete is a guy who understands that it does take some time, and he's getting his foundation in place. And I'm sure they're going to be a tough team for years to come against the Rays.
Thank you very much for the time, Neil. We appreciate it. As always, keep up the good work. We will break here. We'll get you ahead to count Taj Bradley and Ryan Weathers. 4:10 first pitch right here on the Marlins Radio Network.
On thrown on the run. A 1 pitch is hammered out to left center field pretty deep. Hernandez is back. Track, wall. He jumps up. Hernandez made the catch. Heriberto Hernandez in his second major league game takes a 2-run home run away from Tyler Fitzgerald to end the inning.
The pitch at the same grip. Sometimes
1-1, Lee pumps into right center field. Myers on the move. Dane Myers back to the track. Myers jumps up, and he made an insane play. Dane Myers in right center field went leaping at the wall, full speed into the padded wall, grimacing as he lays on the warning track. But Dane Myers just took an RBI double away from Jung-Hoo Lee.
That's incredible again.
4th shutout for the Marlins. We've seen Edward Cabrera the last couple of seasons. We've seen the great Cabrera. We've seen the struggling Cabrera. We're seeing the consistent Cabrera. What's the evolution of him looked like through the process?
He's just attacking guys, getting ahead. His off-speed stuff looks better than ever. He's throwing strikes with it, so I think hitters have to be, conscious of all of his pitches instead of just a couple. So he's doing a really good job locating and executing everything.
How did you guys attack this Giants lineup, not just with Cabrera, with all your arms today?
Just going through the scouting report that, Mosk and the pitching coaches would give me. And they do a really good job, so just sticking with the plan, and Cabrera's doing a really good job, attacking them and executing it.
You got to give me one. Dane Myers catch or the Hernandez catch?
Man, both are great, but I think Dane's was probably one of the best catches I've ever seen. So that was unbelievable.
Where would this team be without Ronnie Enriquez?
He's been a rock out there, so he's thrown a lot of really big innings for us. He's come through many, many times. So, we definitely wouldn't be where we are without him. He's been a really, really solid rock in the bullpen for sure.
Thanks for the time, Nicky.
Of course.
All right, Jack, back to you. Nick Fox Sports 940, the top reset to listen to every Marlins game this season. Steven Strom, Scott Kornberg, and Jack McMullen with you on a Saturday afternoon. We told you it is a hot one again. It's going to be hot all season long here in Tampa, obviously playing outdoors for the first time in 2025. They are playing a bunch of home games early on in the season. They will play a bunch of road games as the year goes on, but it's about 91 degrees here. Ryan Weathers will go opposite Taj Bradley. Thanks again for hanging out with us. Evan Longoria will sign a one-day contract, so that's why today's 4:10 first pitch will be pushed back just a little bit. But again, we will have more time to discuss some of the storylines and topics. Scott Kornberg and Jack McMullen will join me in the next segment. But we'll start here with getting you ahead of the count. And we'll begin with Ryan Weathers, 25-year-old southpaw from Tennessee, will make his 5th start of the season. He comes into today with a 1-1 record, a 2.49 ERA, 21 2/3 innings pitched. He did take the loss on Sunday against the Giants, allowed 4 runs on 5 hits. He walked 3. That's been the big topic of discussion with Ryan Weathers. If you could point out any sort of flaw this season to Weathers, it's been the walks. San Diego had hurt him. Last week against the Giants, it hurt him. 7 punch-outs, 6 innings, though. 99 pitches. He generated 17 whiffs. It was that 3-run home run that hurt him in the 4th, as we're starting to get a round of applause, and I think it is Evan Longoria, as he, again, is going to sign a 1-day contract. We'll try to take it. I didn't get the sheet today, but if we can, we will take some of his, I guess, ceremony. Again, I don't know what to call it, but that was the applause that you heard in the background. For Ryan Weathers, this will be the first time he will start against the Tampa Bay Rays, and Nick Fortes will catch him. Last week against the Giants, it was Augustin Ramirez. Fortes has caught him 3 times this year, 15 2/3, 1.15 ERA. Opponents hitting 175. So good to see Fortes and Weathers paired up this afternoon. Marlins need one, obviously. They've lost 5 in a row. They will go opposite Taj Bradley, 24-year-old right-hander, 5th-round pick in 2018. He's in season 3 in the show with the Rays. He comes in a Saturday afternoon with a 4-5 record, a 3.95 ERA, 12 starts, 70 2/3 combined, 64 punch-outs to 27 walks. He will walk, guys. That's something to keep an eye out on for Taj Bradley. He took a tough luck loss on Sunday in Houston. He allowed 1 unearned run on 3 hits, 2 walks over 7 innings. It was the second time this season Taj Bradley completed 7 innings. He's allowed 3 runs or fewer in 6 of his last 7. So again, it's always so funny. When teams are playing good baseball, what's the common theme? Their starting pitchers are throwing the ball really well, and that's what's happened since the Marlins have taken 2 out of 3 against the Rays. I think they're 12-4 since that Citrus series back in Lone Depot Park. And Taj Bradley was one of those individuals that faced the Marlins in that original Citrus series in 2025. Back on May 16th, he took the L, allowing 5 runs on 6 hits, 3 walks, 4 innings pitched. At the time, it was his shortest outing of the season. So Ryan Weathers will go opposite Taj Bradley here on this stifling hot Saturday afternoon. Game 2 of a 3-game set. Marlins looking to return serve and snap a 5-game skid. Coming up next, we will have Jack McMullen and Scott Kornberg on. Kyle Stowers, we have an update on him, plus more on Ryan Weathers. That is all next. We're back in 2 minutes on the Marlins Radio Network.
Thrown on the run.
A 1 pitch is hammered out to left center field pretty deep. Hernandez is back. Track, wall. He jumps up. Hernandez made the catch. Heriberto Hernandez in his 2nd major league game takes a 2-run home run away from Tyler Fitzgerald to end the inning.
The pitch at the same grip. Sometimes
1-1 lead pumps into right center field. Myers on the move. Dane Myers back to the track. Myers jumps up and he made an insane play. Dane Myers in right center field went leaping at the wall, full speed into the padded wall, grimacing as he lays on the warning track. But Dane Myers just took an RBI double away from Jung-Hoo Lee.
That's incredible again.
4th shutout for the Marlins. We've seen Edward Cabrera the last couple of seasons. We've seen the great Cabrera. We've seen the struggling Cabrera. We're seeing the consistent Cabrera. What's the evolution of him looked like through the process?
He's just attacking guys, getting ahead. His off-speed stuff looks better than ever. He's throwing strikes with it, so I think hitters have to be, conscious of all of his pitches instead of just a couple. So he's doing a really good job locating and executing everything.
How did you guys attack this Giants lineup, not just with Cabrera, with all your arms today?
Just going through the scouting report that, Mosk and the pitching coaches would give me. And they do a really good job, so just sticking with the plan, and Cabrera's doing a really good job, attacking them and executing it.
You got to give me one. Dane Myers catch or the Hernandez catch?
Man, both are great, but I think Dane's was probably one of the best catches I've ever seen. So that was unbelievable.
Where would this team be without Ronnie Enriquez?
He's been a rock out there, so he's thrown a lot of really big innings for us. He's come through many, many times.
Visit LoctiteImpact.com. I had some imaging done yesterday. That initial round of imaging came back good. Continue to consult with our medical group here as well as some specialists on just kind of what, where things stand right now. Still a little sore. Still optimistic at this point that it's nothing that's too majorly to be concerned about. But anytime I think you're dealing with a hitter in their hand or the wrist area, it makes it a little tricky. So don't have Kyle in there today. Starting again, hoping that being able to get some good rounds of treatment in, more intel on what's going on. And then we'll just, continue to kind of reevaluate that day to day with, how he's responding and the information that we get.
All right, that was Marlins manager Clayton McCullough this afternoon. 3 straight days, no Kyle Stowers. He is available off the bench, and I'll throw it to Scott and Jack right now. We'll begin with whoever wants to start. Just what do you make, I guess, of what Clayton McCullough said this afternoon on our potential all-star Kyle Stowers?
I'll get us going. I'm trying to figure out how hand soreness works. And obviously I've never swung a bat with the vigor of Kyle Stowers, and he's swinging all the time. So you understand, okay, you run into hamate issues or wrist issues, but I'm wondering what hand soreness would be. Obviously it's a finicky thing, and Clayton hit on it there. You never really want to deal with a lingering hand or wrist issue as a hitter because it's so hand and wrist dependent, and usually that kind of piles up into something a bit more drastic, like a broken hamate, which all of a sudden is 2 months there. We've seen guys deal with that. I know Matt Mervis dealt with that last year when he was a Cubs farmhand, but you got things like that. Better to be safe than sorry with a guy like Kyle.
I agree completely. I don't think you've done too much yard work in your life, have you?
No, I mean, I guess I feel it. Yeah, but is it a grip thing? I feel like that kind of works down to the forearms.
No, I completely agree with you. In these situations, how many times do we see a guy come back and their power is sapped because it's a wrist injury and they just don't have the strength when they swing the bat? And so they are making 100% sure that Kyle Stowers is all right to go. As you guys have said, he has been an excellent player for this team for the last month and change, and you want him to not drift back to those struggles that he had when he got traded here last year. So you will certainly understand why they're being so cautious with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, he's been the Marlins' best player, hitting .282, 10 home runs, 33 RBIs with a 1.3 WAR. So it'll be interesting to see what the timeline looks like, particularly with what has happened as of late with the Marlins. They've lost 5 in a row. You don't want to rush back your best player that has just been sensational thus far. Jack, does it matter in 2025 who's catching you? We'll see Nick Fortes and Ryan Weathers reunited.
Yes, that's my answer. Yes.
Why?
I think it matters. It's tough because I do have to kind of think through this one. I think it matters because at the end of the day, there are some unspoken things that have to do with a pitcher-catcher dynamic. And I think the battery is something that will never go away. If you have an innate feel for a pitcher and their pitch mix, that's going to be a good thing. And there are catchers that have good feel for a guy's arsenal. There are catchers that are trying to learn guys' arsenals. And you think about who's been around on this Marlins team. Agustin Ramirez has not been around. He didn't catch much in the minor leagues either. When you look at his catching life, this guy has just not caught the volume of games that Nick Fortes has caught. Same deal with Liam Hicks. So you got Fortes here, and I think that he is understanding of Weathers' arsenal on a given day, right? Hey, if the sweeper's working, we'll go to that a little bit more. Fastball, nobody's catching up to it. Let's ride that thing. So I think he's just a little bit more in tune with the intricacies of pitching and the intricacies of Ryan Weathers. So I think it matters. I think about last year. Why did the Cardinals stop catching Wilson Contreras? Well, because starter ERA was really bad with Wilson Contreras, and there were some things, and there was a feel with a battery that just didn't work. And it was actually Yadier Molina that pointed that out to the Cardinals and said, hey, there's something not right. And then you looked at Andrew Kisner, who is not the hitter that Wilson Contreras is. You look at his starter ERA, and it was right around 2. So it's okay, what's going on here? I do think that unspoken or literally spoken communication between pitcher and catcher matters. And listen, if Ryan likes throwing to Nick Fortes, I think that can absolutely matter.
Yeah, I just want to back that up real quick, Steven. How many times you talk to a pitcher and they're like, yeah, I trust working with this guy. That was my
next point, man. Yep.
Yeah.
That is, I think that's a thing, and I don't know if you could quantify that, but I know I hear it all the time, that I love working with this catcher because I trust them that when I'm going to throw my nastiest breaking ball with a runner on third base, they're going to block it.
Yeah.
I trust this catcher because I know in this pressure situation, they know what I like to throw, and they're gonna set me up for success. So, whether or not that's a thing where you should be able to just trust everybody, I do think the human nature of it is there's a trust factor that needs to be established. And to your point, Augustine Ramirez is in his third full month in the major leagues now. So it doesn't exist yet. It doesn't mean it will not exist.
And at the end of the day, like, we are not far removed in the grand scheme of Major League Baseball from John Lester mandating that the Cubs sign David Ross to be his personal catcher. Like, we're, 8 years removed from that, 9 years removed from that. We're even less removed from Sandy winning a Cy Young throwing to Jacob Stallings and Garrett Cole pretty much mandating that he throws to Jose Trevino. And there are a couple Baltimore starters that mandated that they threw to James McCann over the course of the last couple of years. So I do think that it is still a thing that is alive and well in Major League Baseball. And we have no idea if this was a mandate from Weathers, like, hey, I want to throw to 40, Wethy throwing to 40. By the way, if you want to make a baseball nickname, just shorten the guy's last name and put a Y. Probably McMully.
McMulls.
McMulls. I like McMulls.
Cornbergy. Cornbergy.
I like Scotty.
Strami. Yeah, Scotty, Strami, cool. Jackie. Like, I'm sure it's just whatever, like, one or two syllable thing you can do, and then just add a Y on the end. That's your baseball nickname.
Yeah, and I'm completely with Scott. I was going to actually piggyback on what he said, because we've heard multiple starters like Cal Quantrill. Who does he talk about? He talks about Hicksy. He talked Liam Hicks, by the way.
Yeah.
He goes out of his way to talk about Liam Hicks. He did that in spring training, and we've heard Ryan Weathers say the same thing about Nick Fortes. And in 3 games this year, 15 2/3, 1.15 ERA. I don't know. I think it has something to do. I think it matters. Like, there's levels to trust. I know you got to trust your infield, but trusting your catcher, it's like, some people you'll let watch, your pet. There's a different level than letting someone watch your kids, right? Like, there's different levels of trust, and I think with the catcher, it's at that kid's level, and I think it's incredibly important. On the other end, how do we get, Scott, to Taj Bradley this afternoon? Because we already did back in the middle of May.
I think you get to it with the fastball. That is his weakest pitch, which is very odd because, Jack, we were talking about this before the game today. The Rays stress, and we talked about this all day yesterday, whatever your best pitch is, just throw it as much as you possibly can. And his worst pitch is his fastball, and he uses it about 50% of the time. And opponents have an over 800 OPS against it. They've hit all but 2 home runs against it. Every other pitch, he's got really good opposing batting average, opposing OPS, but he just doesn't throw it. So I think that you've got to be ready to jump on that fastball if you get it in the middle of the plate.
Jack, I thought yesterday offensively it was good. Like, there were signs, 11 hits. I know it was only 3 runs, but what were some of the encouraging signs you saw offensively? Again, the Marlins have really struggled to have that crooked inning number.
Yeah, I think the homers, honestly, 11 hits is encouraging. I think 2 homers hit by the Miami Marlins was really important because they were coming off of their first homerless homestand since the midway point of 2023. Like, you typically do not go a week without hitting a homer, but that's what the Marlins did against the Giants and the Rockies. So they were homer starved. All of a sudden they get to this ballpark and Augustine goes yard and Otto Lopez goes yard. I also think it's the crooked number in the hit department for several guys. I think that's really important. Like, Dane Myers had 2 hits. Augustine had 3 hits. Wagaman had 3 hits. Like, that's nice to see those guys pile up because then you can actually point to someone and say, you know what, hot bat. Like, I like you coming up in this situation because you're a hot bat right now. You're swinging a hot stick. And I think you can point to Dane. I think you can point to Otto. I think you can point to Augustine and Wagaman right now as, hey, you're a hot bat. I feel really good if you're up in a big situation here.
The Marlins got to Taj Bradley back on May 16th. They had that 4-run inning in the 4th. Connor Norby had a bases-clearing double. I asked this in our little tweet that we send out before the game on X. Pick your stick today. Who do you see in the lineup tonight that you think is a good matchup against Bradley and someone that's going to be the catalyst for this offense?
Wishful thinking for me is Norby. I want him to kind of get out of this skid. It's been a rough stretch for him.
2 for 31.
And unfortunately, there are no walks in that stretch either. And I'm looking for him not really to, like, draw a walk today, but see a count get a little deep. And then all of a sudden, you kind of force Taj Bradley into throwing you his fastball. And can you meet that fastball if he tugs it down over the heart of the plate? I think Connor can. So I'm a big fan of Connor kind of getting off the schneid today and having a get-right game against Taj Bradley ahead of a really tough matchup with Drew Rasmussen tomorrow.
Scotty?
I think you guys talked about the lack of power, and Liam Hicks has had some pop the last couple weeks. You get a left-handed bat in the middle of the order. It would be really nice to get some thump from there. Obviously, Jesus Sanchez batting second in today's game would be really good to get some thump after kind of a tough day yesterday, multiple strikeouts swinging. So, I think Hicks has been swinging a hot bat recently. I love that. Sanchez, this is his former organization. He was traded from the Rays. There's got to be some sort of, hey, I want to get my revenge. Yeah, him and Xavier. So, I think that you got to get that big pop. Hopefully one of those two guys could supply that in today's game.
Do you want to know mine or no?
Yes.
Of course.
You're going to have to wait. We're going to break here. X-Bowl question, Steve's guarantee. It's all next on the Marlins Radio Network.
Augustine Ramirez. Augustine hammers a ball out to left and deep. It is gone. Don't worry about that first run. Augustine Ramirez ties the contest at a run apiece. First pitch to Jesus Sanchez. Sanchez hits one a mile high out to right field. You got Wade working back. Wade at the track. He looks up and it's gone. Left on left matchup, and Jesus Sanchez leaves the yard. It was a sky-scraping homer. He hit it hard. Looked almost directly. He throws 99. Has a crazy good slider. And he's pretty young in his pitching life. 0-1 pitch. Otto drills. Out to left and deep. Sheets is back. He looks up. And this game is tied. A 3-run home run from Otto Lopez. And the Marlins work all the way back after the crooked number against Sandy. Bottom of the fourth, I should say. Infield is in. First pitch to Augustine. Kicks away from the catcher Diaz. And here comes Javi. He scores standing up without a throw. Jason Adam, the right-handed reliever. His first pitch of his outing was a yanked and spiked slider. And on a wild pitch, the Marlins take a 7-6 lead here in the top of the seventh.
Cutter, depending on the day. So most of the times it was my slider, and I just let it rip.
First pitch to Augustine. He lines one into center, and that drops in for a base hit. It's going to give the Fish the lead. A 2-run single as Augustine shimmies over at first base. He plates north.
Has made a difference in your life now through April 15th at marlins.com/MVP teacher.
Number 1 on your car radio preset and the new and improved iHeartRadio app. WINCA in Miami. WMIB FM HD2 Fort Lauderdale. Free never sounded so good.
Well, we're off and running here on the Marlins Radio Network. Hopefully no one wore gray to the ballpark this afternoon. Tough choice to wear gray. It's 91 degrees outside. Ryan Weathers will go opposite Taj Bradley here. Citrus Series. And the Marlins are looking to return serve here. And they still can, I guess, exhibit a season Citrus Series sweep if they come out here and respond against the Rays. Of course, the Marlins took 2 out of 3 in the middle of May at Lone Depot Park against the Rays. They have an opportunity to get back and punch back against Tampa this afternoon. Steven Strom here, Scott Kornberg, Jack McMullen. Those two have your call. Originally, it was going to be a 4:10 first pitch, but since Evan Longoria is going to sign a one-day contract to retire with the Tampa Bay Rays, they are holding a ceremony for him. And that leads us to our Expo question today at Marlins Radio. How many different teams did Evan Longoria play for? Make sure to vote at Marlins Radio. I got to be honest, when I thought about this Expo question, one of them just completely, I knew the two are obvious, right? One of them is here. But there was one that I completely forgot about. Make sure to vote at Marlins Radio. How many teams did Evan Longoria play for? It is now, if Ahmed is ready, time for Steve's guarantee.
Batter up. Batter up.
Let's play some ball.
First pitch is moments away. Time now for Steve's guarantees.
Good job by Ahmed. I want to come back and say nice job because he was ready there for Steve's guarantees. I got 2 for you today. I'm actually on with Jack McMullen about Connor Norby. Couple reasons. Number one, he's due. 2 for 31. He's in a slump right now. I like him to have an extra base hit, but I'm basing that on what he did against Taj Bradley back in the middle of May. Connor Norby remembers everything. He can remember every hit, every strikeout, every whatever it is. Connor Norby is very cerebral that way. I like him to have an extra base hit. He delivered the big blow, the bases clearing double at Lone Depot Park. That really offered the Marlins their first crooked inning number in quite some time, and that is what the Marlins have lacked offensively. I also like Jesus Sanchez in that 2 spot, especially against that fastball. Scott Kornberg, he laid it out to us. Taj Bradley struggles with his fastball, and Jesus Sanchez does a great job against that 4-seamer. I like him to have an extra base hit as well. Hopefully the Marlins here can give Ryan Weathers some run support. You never know how long he's going to go in this type of game. Again, folks, I can't overstate this. It is humid. It's hot. It's difficult to breathe out there. I mean, that's how bad it is, and it's only the beginning of June. Folks, I hope you got the itch for first pitch, because when we come back, Jack McMullen paints a picture. Scott Kornberg, he's ready to rock. Starting lineups in first pitch is right around the corner. Thanks for tuning in to the Marlins On Deck pregame show. I'm Steven Strom. Let's flip the M together, Miami Marlins baseball. It's next on the Marlins Radio Network.